Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, we'll just give it another minute or two. We usually have people coming in a little late here.
Hello, all. Good morning, good afternoon, good
Hello,
evening.
Parthiban. How are you?
Good, Kendall. Thank you.
Morning, good evening.
Morning, Daljit. Daljit, will you be the one giving the 5G update today?
Yes, I will do that. Kendall, before we start, we have a question. Actually,
Sure.
Suresh was asking. So the technical steering committee meeting we have Monday, right? I think that's around noon in PST. So he was saying, can we bring it to early so that team in India can participate?
Yeah, I saw the note from Suresh. I will add it to the agenda to bring it up to the TSC on Monday. I would like to just ask everyone first before we move it and just gauge if we can find a time that works for everyone. So let's keep the same time for Monday, and then we'll update any future meetings if everyone agrees to update the time. Does that work?
Okay, that's fine. Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
An item that I'd like to put on the agenda is a security update.
Sure, I will add that to the agenda.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, in the interest of time, let's just go ahead and get started because I know we used up most of the time last time, so I just want to make sure so we have a few additional updates than we normally have. So we'll start it off with the Basel update from Marie.
Hi. I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hello, can everyone see it?
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to give, I think maybe a few months ago, maybe closer to 6 months ago, I gave an update about how we're trying to move toward a Basel unified build system with Basel for the wider project, but with a stronger focus on the Access Gateway, which covers C, C++, and Python. And as a quick recap, so the first bullet is what we said. I've linked some proposals for, that has all the reasons on why. And the migration will cover unit test execution, service binary builds, and then also parts of dependency management. And I say parts because there are some dependencies that still have to be installed on the system, but we are trying to move it more toward a model where it's managed by Basel. And then it's not, I just wanted to highlight that it's not going to, this does not affect how Access Gateway services are run. So we can still have, the regular model where it's managed by System D. All the Dockerized Access Gateway containers will stay the same. And so currently we have a bunch of targets fully Baselified. And this covers, I gave some numbers. And if you want to test it out, anyone is welcome to. It should be available on both the Magma VM and also GitHub code spaces. So these are some commands that you can run. I'm going to try to do like a quick demo later in the slides to see like how it feels and what it looks like. But that's that. We also have a few CI jobs that run all these targets so that we don't regress. The main one that runs all the target for every PR is the Basel build and test job. So if you raise a PR, you should see it. If you click on it, you can kind of see what it does. And we have not migrated, so production Access Gateway services are currently not built with Basel yet. We have plans to, but we don't have like the exact timelines yet. So I just, the whole point of this presentation was that I wanted to sort of highlight some big-ish changes that are coming. The first big one that will affect all PRs is that we are trying to make the Basel build and test job mandatory. So this will realistically mean for developers that are adding new files or new test files to the already Baselified targets, we'll have to also modify the Basel build files. And before we toggle the switch, we'll try to make sure that we have ample documentation coverage to help, to make it easy for developers to figure this out on their own. We just created a hashtag Basel Slack channel so that if you cannot figure it out, ping this channel and we'll try to help you. And I think we have like 7 people who are pretty experienced in the Magma Basel configurations. So we'll try to help you there. Scott and I are trying to get necessary build files to build MME into master. This is going to take a bit more coordination just because it is probably the most complex component that we're trying to build with Basel. So for this, we would like to, either do this async or sync, sync with all MME developers and try to, educate on why the build file looks a certain way, like how to modify it, how to add unit tests, because it is a little bit harder to figure out for that service. So yes. And yeah, and as for, as with everything, if we have any major changes, we'll notify #dev and then give some timelines on, we usually try to give like a week of heads up so that everyone can get accustomed to the idea. So we have some few asks. So if you notice that the Baselified target that you may have touched is broken due to your change, and you should see this if the Basel build and test CI job is failing. It would greatly help us if you could take note of it. So as I said before, like feel free to ping the Basel Slack channel if it's difficult to figure it out on your own. Again, like we'll try to improve more and more documentation, so that'll help probably. And I'll try to look into adding CI checks to detect any like new test coverage that's not covered by the, like just so that we keep the Basel build files in sync. And then I feel like I've said this many times, but if you're curious, please reach out to us. We're like very happy to onboard new developers so that we can get, feedback on what's working, what's not, and anything that's confusing that's not covered in documentation. So I hope this will take like 5 minutes, but I wanted to give a quick demo on what this looks like, and I'll utilize code spaces to do this because that's always fun. So let's see. So say, I guess it's merged already, but say I want to spin up the code space to run some tests on some PR, or you can also spin it up on like some random branch in Magma. You can use the code section there, click start, spin up a new code space, and this will take like 1 to 2 minutes. So I'll go back and move on to the next slide. Here I've listed some Basel effort related GitHub issues so that, like the progress is very visible to all. This one is pretty much the root issue. So if you're just curious and you want to sort of have a place to start off, this is a good one. It branches off to specific Python related issues or MME related issues. There's a bunch. We actually have we're starting to work on tagging some issues as up for grabs or, looking for owners, so that if anyone in the community is interested to contribute, we'll try to make that easy. Let's see, maybe I just spoke too soon, but it is still building. I guess
Mary, sorry to ask you a question there. What is the channel name in Slack that you indicated?
Basil.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Has any of you used GitHub Codespaces to work with Magma yet?
A little bit. I had a good experience, but I didn't go deep.
Okay. Yeah. I'm like a strong believer. So if anyone is curious and wanted to, get some tips or anything like that, I'm happy to experiment together. I guess the nice thing is, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to ask something about Codespaces because what I saw is that it's not accessible to all, as far as I know. Like when I go to code, for example, I don't see the option to create a new Codespace. So I was curious about like what's the process to get access to it.
I was not aware. So if you go to github.com/codespaces, are you able to create it off of your forked branch?
I think they are available for members of the Magma organization on GitHub.
Okay.
There's some restriction on that.
Okay, that might be why I'm not capable to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure like the exact steps on becoming part of the org. But yeah, something to ask, I guess. Yes, so I think for this particular PR, it's only like a Magma D change. So I might just be interested in running the Python unit tests. So then you can just do Python test, orchestrator, gateway, Python, ... which will just run all tests under this directory. And yes, so it'll just auto discover any tests that are configured and run them all. Let's see.
I have a question. Have we also tested building Docker containers for orchestrator on this code spaces?
We have not touched the orchestrator just because, yeah, for Golang, there's some plugins. Yeah, so there's a tool called Gazelle that like automatically generates build files for Golang, but it's not very compatible with how we have our orchestrator code structured. Specifically, the multiple go.mod in a single project is kind of like wacky to sort of work around. So I have not spent too much time like investigating how much time it would take. Pretty much though, most of the focus has only been on the Access Gateway, CC, Post, and Python services.
Okay.
So yeah, as you can see, all the tests were run and they're all run in parallel. So it's like a much better experience compared to the existing one. And so that's the demo. The last slide I had was on all the primary developers currently working on the Bazel effort. So I think if you ping any of us, well, hopefully you ping the Bazel Slack channel first. But if you most of us should be able to sort of ping the right people to get to the heart of the issue if you're experiencing any. So that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Marie. Does anyone have any questions? Great. Thanks so much, Marie. Great. We'll move on to a 5G update from Daljit.
All right. Thank you, Kendall. Using a screen?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, this is the 5G SA FWA project update. Team is working on this the last few months, and we are very much getting close to it. We have most of the feature we were working on, basic and extended feature, heavily the main categories. So the basic features, they are ready for go as part of initial release, which we are in discussion within the channel. So we will have a 5G basic features probably at some level of like experimental level available, which include registration, deregistration, authentication, and PDU session, idle mode paging, right? So they will be available, and we are finalizing the contents, and we'll be sharing shortly. They will be going as part of 1.7, and then the extended features we are getting very close to complete them, and probably by next month somewhere we will have those features as well available. So the heavily work is going on one of the GTP extension header support. That work is going on, and we are doing a lot of regression, scale testing, and the CA testing, and we are dealing with the issues which came from the extended features. That we continually debugging and working on fixing those issues, and we are also parallel working on the real equipment testing. This is the hardening regression test cases, and we have a fixing the series of issues we have fixed. So there a lot of work was gone in rebasing of those header file changes came in, and we have done a bunch of OI logging related changes. The issues, there were PDU session related issues. Those are resolved, few of them, and this was related to the request IE and code error. And then we are again working on the data plane issue related to the QFI value. Multi-session service request issue is also resolved. This was the IMF are responding to the request, so those fixes are gone in there. And there are some more issues related to again the regression test cases where we were seeing failures, and the SQLite log failure issue is resolved as well. This is dynamic policy support. This is quite a bit work is done. This is the way it's evolving is. We have most of PRs are merged here in this case, and we have done a bunch of 1.7 related interface related work, but that won't be complete. It won't get tested. So we will have some unit level testing done for this to complete this features. So this is very close to be done. This is the stateless feature. So this is the bringing to the same parity as 4G FWA, and this is actually all development is done. We are just working on fixing the issues related to ongoing verification, regression, and scale test. So this way, like these are extended features which are very close. Their development is done, and the same thing with IPv6 development is done. We are just dealing with any issues coming up with the regression and scale test. This is the tip procedure badging, and this is very much we are close to be done. We will have this final test plan available soon, and we will submit to the tip. And in parallel, we are doing all the CI/CD testing and adding new test cases and so on. The next slide is related to the ongoing real equipment testing, regression testing, and scale test. So the physical G node V with the Huawei Mate 30 UE, this is with the Bicell is being blocked for a while now, but there are a lot of issues found related to hardware, software, and they are being resolved. And that's sort of like moving slow. The regression testing, the team is
sorry to interrupt here. I mean that is blocked because of basal hardware issues, right? But I also understood that we tested in another tip lab. Can you give some updates? Maybe Parthiban can give some updates.
Yeah, Kadar. Yeah, thanks, Kadar, for bringing that. So we are working in CPQD lab on another community lab where there is an Bicell setup available, and we have installed Magma AGW with the working in collaboration with that community, where there are members from other organization as well who are interested in Magma. So we are able to make through an traffic call. There are small glitches there where our development team is looking into it. Say, for example, there were some few packet drops over there. It should be through by today, tomorrow, and we should have a clean test run on a system real equipment testing done. and we should be able to share those debug logs for the community to consume it. And henceforth, we could be able to even declare that Magma 5G SA works with an Bisel GNB. And we are also working directly with the Bisel team in China, where we have successfully installed the Magma AGW into their lab, Bisel lab in China. And we are also trying to do one more round of testing over there, which we should be able to get the result by the next meet when we are all meeting here.
Yeah. So we're also reaching out to a number of other RAN vendors for interop testing. Any help from the community, if you can do that, would really appreciate it. The more the real equipments that we interop with, the better the future for the Magma 5G is. Appreciate it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Kader. Thank you, Parthivan. Yeah. So we are doing parallel testing with other places with the Bisel, which we are getting success. So we will have some PRs raised this week, which will be ready for but that's sort of like a baseline for going 5G basic features in initial 1.7 experimental release. And then moving on to regression testing. So we have, if you see here, there have been some drop in the regression testing from 83 to 72, and this is heavily tied up with the new unit test cases being added related to extended features. So that's we are having a discussion. We are looking into separating, the basic feature test cases and the extended feature test cases, so that we can deal with the two separate releases. And the basic feature test cases should come back to the same level. Extended features team is working constantly, and we will have a solution within a week or two. There's an issue observed related to packet loss. We have discussed this, and this we will try another configuration issue with multiple UEs. So that work is in progress. All other issues, team is constantly analyzing and discussion with the primes. Scale testing, again, the team is, we have full-time team working on the scale test cases, continually running test cases. They are trying test cases with the single G node V and with even with 12 G node Vs. So there is one challenge they were looking is related to the traffic. Some video sessions are failing. So that we have a proposal in place, which is in discussion, and that will bring that issue in control, and we should be able to get the test case we are looking at with 400 Mbps, in control there. So that's very much we have. Any questions? All right. Kendall, back to you.
Great, thank you, Daljit. Okay, we'll move to a DevOps update. Do we have?
Yeah.
Three
So
or Shubham?
yeah.
Go for it.
Yes. I think Daljit, you can stop sharing.
Yeah. Just give me a second.
Yeah. So from DevOps, we have few updates. One thing, we have recently tested our orchestrator deployment on OpenShift, that is Red Hat's own Kubernetes cluster. We are working with them and it went fine. Now we are trying to automate that process. That is one. Another thing that we are doing similar process with Cloud9 team. We are trying to automate the Magma deployment. We use their on-prem or AWS deployment for Kubernetes. It will go and deploy Kubernetes for you. It will deploy Magma for you using the Cloud9 platform. We are also working with the ARM team for building access gateway, Dockerized based access gateway on ARM platforms. There are two methods that we are trying. One is Graviton to AWS based instance, which is hardware is ARM. Another way we are trying same process, but with GitHub Actions on ARM based emulator. So we are still in discussions, which we will finalize for proper CI jobs. But yeah, these processing and progress are going on. Another thing, for quickly setting up entire orchestrator on a local development system, we have set up a script for deploying a kind-based Kubernetes cluster on a VM. So everything is inside a single Docker container, everyone can like within a single minute, they can quickly spin up entire orchestrator and start working. It's working fine on Linux systems, but yeah, still few tweaks are pending on macOS systems. So these are the main updates. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you, Shubham. Next, release update. Do we have Echo?
Yeah, so thanks, Kendall. So nothing major on top of what Jared shared, I think 2 weeks ago. I think we are looking to get a release candidate out pending a few PRs and of course a healthy CI. But I'll echo what Jared shared last week. The latest for everything 1.7 can be obtained from the v1_7 release channel on Slack. So please join in there and then support as much as you can. So yeah, that's about it, Kendall.
Great. Any questions for Echo? Great. Okay, lastly, we'll have the security update from Lucas.
Is someone sharing their screen?
Lucas, if you're talking, you're on mute.
Thank you for that, and pardon me. I was saying good things, but you wouldn't know. So I have shared my screen. Do people have access to that now?
Yes.
Okay, great. This week we did a dress rehearsal or a fire drill to test out the security disclosure process that is documented here in the security policy. I'm pretty sure this is the first time that anybody's actually run through this. And we did it by having Eli submit an email to the security disclosure address and then go through the checklist of to-do items. For example, I've set up a SMS alert for emails to come in here, and I had to debug that and only discovered that in this process. We went through this process, and I'm now going to talk about what I learned and kind of what the organization should know and what we need to do different and better in the future. One thing we found is that we apply this process of using the common vulnerability scoring system defined by force.org, which you can see right here. This is it. This turned out to be a very long and complicated document, and we had to figure out how to actually apply this. To do that, I ended up putting together a system for scoring a vulnerability based on taking these flowcharts out of there, turning them into scores based on their position in this list right here. You see where the arrow goes up. And then combining those values to create a normalized score that allows us to compare the severity of issues one against the next. An outstanding work item is to figure out how to translate those into these categories. Those categories are documented here in the response process, but nowhere else. And they really are just kind of seat of the pants things. So that's a thing we need to get better at. Let me stop briefly and see if there are any questions at this point. Everybody's good? Okay, I will go on. This is the issue that I created in the security repository for this email. One of the first things I noticed is that the email didn't follow the standardized response, standardized fields that we specify. And that'll probably continue to be true when we get these emails. I created an issue and set a date. So I used this process to define a priority, which I really kind of did, intuitively. And that defines a delivery date. And then for each of the 2 test cases, I found an owner for the issue and worked to make sure that they knew what they had, and then sent back a response email. Like this is required by the response process. And in doing this, we identified some missing pieces of work that needed to get done. For example, where there's supposed to be a security vulnerability team. There isn't really, as far as I know. And if anybody knows about that and knows more than I've been able to find out, do let me know. We defined a Slack channel so people could discuss incoming vulnerabilities. If you're not on it, again, let me know. And there were a couple other items that were, discovered by doing this fire drill. That is it for me. I think that the important takeaway for the group is, like, this information, it shouldn't just be known to me and Eli and maybe a couple other people. It should be kind of, more widespread among the team about what happens when there's a disclosure and how we manage vulnerabilities. And then the last thing is, if you're on the list of people who receive vulnerability disclosures, I'd be interested in knowing what you get and what your response is and how you deal with those. As far as I can tell, nobody really pays attention but me. And I kind of need to know that. That's it for me. Thank you for this time.
Thank you, Lucas. Any questions for him? All right, great. Thank you so much. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. Is there any other business that people would like to talk about or discuss? I'll take the silence as a no. Then we'll go ahead and end early. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.